We're Mike and Jill, welcome back to the Bangkok.
Today is the 1st of November 2024 and today is the day that Sydney has welcomed back the beautiful Ovation of the Seas to the Australian waters for its summer season. In this video, we're going to take you all around the ship and we're going to show you the highlights of what Ovation of the Seas has to offer in 2024.
Let's go check in.
Okay.
For this cruise, we'd pre-purchased Royal Caribbean's The Key package, which we'll cover in detail in a separate video. One of the standout perks of having the Key package though is the early embarkation, and instead of the pre-arranged 1:30 check-in we were able to board as early as 11 AM. However, this embarkation day turned out to be quite the adventure. Typically, with a suite or with an early access package like the Key, you can breeze through the overseas passenger terminal, drop off your luggage and step right onto the ship. But this time was very different. Upon arrival, we were greeted by a bustling scene with streams of passengers still disembarking. Now that's really unusual because most guests would normally have cleared the ship by now. We later learned though that there had been significant delays with Australian immigration, giving those departing guests a few extra hours on board, a rare treat for them. So we decided to relax at a nearby cafe with a coffee, only to discover that we could actually start our muster process using the Royal app. And back at the passenger terminal we found the Key line, and true to form, the fantastic staff at the overseas passenger terminal had us on board in no time. Ovation of the Seas, summer 2024.
Going on the ship!
As we stepped on board the Ovation of the Seas, it was love at first sight. Amazingly, despite being around 8 years old, she still had a really fresh, sleek and modern vibe. Given her size, I was personally more than a little worried that my lack of navigation skills that have seen me get lost on many smaller ships was going to hit me again.
That's a recurring theme for you, Jill, isn't it? Getting lost and ending up in the shops.
Yeah, okay, I'll own that. I'll tell you though, I think Ovation has been so brilliantly designed with a clear and intuitive layout, and I didn't get lost once.
You still found the shops?
Yeah, but I didn't get lost finding the shops. As usual, folks, please get your muster drill completed as soon as you board. It's quick and it's easy, and once you've done that, the fun can begin. Muster on Ovation is a little more traditional than we've seen on some other ships, in that they still have an actual crew member explaining the process and how to wear the life jacket. Now, I don't know about you, but we always find it such an exciting moment finding your cabin on a ship that you haven't cruised on before, and this one was no exception.
This is always exciting.
It is, you don't know what you're going to find.
I know, I've seen so many pictures of what this cabin's going to look like, but it's always so much nicer in person. Here we go.
This cabin is really spacious, featuring our favourite layout of the bed position next to the doors, which is perfect for those early morning coffee moments while soaking up the sights and the sounds of the ocean right from your bed. The addition of a sofa really added to the feeling of space and made it a great place to relax and unwind, and meant that we weren't tripping over each other whilst getting ready. There was plenty of storage, a decent sized bathroom, but the standout feature of this cabin is the unexpectedly large balcony. Check out how much space there is there. This was a real find. Alright, let's take a whirlwind tour of the lounges, bars and entertainment hotspots on Ovation of the Seas. We're starting with Deck 14 and the North Star Bar. This place is a real crowd magnet. It's pretty much buzzing all the time. Perched high above the pool deck, it's the ultimate spot for panoramic views, whether you're soaking in the scenery or just people watching with a cocktail in hand. And if you manage to snag one of those coveted loungers or chairs, congratulations, you've officially won the best seat on the ship lottery. One deck down, you are spoiled for choice with 3 pool bars, one in the main pool, another in the undercover pool, and the last one in the adult-only Solarium. Translation here, wherever you are, you're never more than a few steps from your next pina colada or ice-cold beer. These bars are exactly what you'd expect from a poolside bar, refreshing drinks in plastic glasses and bartenders who serve them with a smile. Now let's head indoors to one of the ship's crown jewels, 270. Nestled at the back of the ship, this space is stunning. By day, those massive floor-to-ceiling windows flood the area with natural light, making it a dreamy spot just to chill out. And if you want to play bingo in here, don't even think about showing up less than half an hour early unless you want to sit on the floor. And yes, that actually did happen. At night, 270 transforms into an epic entertainment venue with its multi-level stages, high-tech robotic screens and cool moving platforms for the performers. It's like no other venue at sea. Now, full disclosure, when we saw a show here, those famous robotic screens didn't move, so that wow factor we'd seen online was missing. Was a little underwhelming, but hey, it just gives us an excuse to book again, right? Next stop on our entertainment crawl is Vintages. This is a traditional wine bar in the Via area next to Jamie's Italian. This was one of the quieter bars on board, and we often saw it being used for wine tasting events, which were popular. Moving forward on this deck, you'll find the famous Bionic Bar. This novelty bar has been a Royal Caribbean staple for many years now, and it's a cool idea. You use a touch panel to order a cocktail, and the two robotic arms will get to work mixing your drink. We watched it a few times, and while it's fun and it's innovative, you're really better off saving your money and watching it make somebody else's overpriced cocktail. Last bar on this deck is Schooner Bar with its classic nautical theme. It's always been one of our favourite Royal Caribbean haunts. It's the kind of place we inevitably end up at the end of the night, gathered around the piano for a good old sing-song. On Ovation, the piano man was fabulous, a real entertainer who knew how to get the crowd going. But we've got one little nitpick, and it's all around the piano's orientation. To face the performer, we had to look directly at a bright corridor opposite the photo shop. The lighting was harsh, and there was a constant flow of cruisers walking by and peeking in, and that really killed the vibe. I know this is serious nitpicking, but imagine how much better it would be if they simply turned that piano around to create that more intimate, tucked away atmosphere. Just that small tweak would make the world of difference. Our final stop on Deck 5 is the upper level of the Royal Theatre. The Royal Theatre on board Ovation is a gorgeous 2-level venue right at the front of the ship. Naturally, we were hoping to catch one of those much advertised Broadway-style shows during our cruise. While the performance we saw was definitely entertaining, it followed that familiar cruise formula of a talented cast of singers and dancers belting out a medley of well-loved hits. Fun? Absolutely. Broadway show? Not quite. We did hear whispers from fellow cruisers that some of the entertainment staff had been given time off after the long Trans-Pacific journey to Australia, and if that's true, that might explain the absence of a full-scale Broadway production. Or maybe those shows are just reserved for longer cruises. Honestly, we're not too sure, but if you know the answer, drop it in the comments. Exiting the lower level of the theatre on Deck 4, you'll find the Crown Lounge. Now, the Crown Lounge is a dedicated space for Diamond members and above of the Crown and Anchor Society. Sadly, that's not us, so we really can't tell you too much about it. So if you've been lucky enough to spend some time in there, we'd love you to add something in the comments to tell us all about your experiences. Next to that, you'll find the Music Hall, and the Music Hall on board Ovation of the Seas is a massive 2-storey multi-purpose venue, and we absolutely loved it. It's one of those spaces that's just always buzzing with energy no matter the time of day. On the lower level, which is Deck 3, you'll find a bar, plenty of seating, and a dance floor that's front and centre to the stage. During the day, this area comes alive with entertainment such as games and quizzes, but by night, it transforms into the ship's nightclub, and it's complete with great music and a lively atmosphere till late. Heading upstairs, it's a whole different vibe. The upper level feels like a traditional pub with its free-to-use pool tables and a spacious bar that's just perfect for grabbing a drink and hanging out. Of course, the connection to the live music and energy from downstairs ties it all together seamlessly. It really is the best of both worlds in one venue. If you've ever been to the UK, you'll know how they love their pubs, and Royal Caribbean has delivered just that with the Amber and Oak pub. From the outside, it screams traditional pub, and on the inside, it does miss that little bit of character. But don't let that fool you, the atmosphere is pure classic pub. During the day, it's pretty chill, but at night, this place is jumping. It was packed every evening we were there, and we were hooked on the live music. This musician had that crowd wrapped around his finger, and it was an absolute blast. And yep, it wouldn't be a cruise without yet another entertainer belting out that classic Mr. Brightside. Seriously, is a cruise without it? And here's a little cruise hack for you. Grab a couple of free slices of pizza from Sorrento's next door and bring them back to the pub to enjoy with your beer. Try doing that at your local at home. Next up, we arrive at Bolero's. Now, if you love a good cocktail, Bolero's is the place to be. It's a great little venue with a stage where there was often live music, and it was home to karaoke. We did try to join trivia in here one afternoon, but it was absolutely packed out. In reality, we'd say it's probably too small for trivia, so if you're heading there, make sure you arrive nice and early to nab a seat. Last stop for entertainment venues, you'll find the Casino Royale downstairs from Bolero's. The casino is massive on Ovation and it's packed full of all the usual gaming tables and slot machines, plus a large bar if you're feeling thirsty. Ovation of the Seas has not one, not two, but 4 main dining rooms called Rand, Chic, Silk and American Icon Grill. Whether you're an early eater or a night owl, or you're just plain indecisive, there's a dining option for you. If you're set on dining early or late, you'll be heading to the Grand or Chic. But if you're more of a let's see how I feel later kind of diner, opt for My Time Dining, which uses Silk and the American Icon Grill. Flexibility is the name of the game with these two, so there's no need to commit to a strict dinner schedule, you can suit yourself. The menus are the same across the board in all 4 restaurants and they change daily to keep things fresh. We always choose My Time Dining and most nights we walked straight in, except on Embarkation Day when we hit a queue that felt like a theme park ride. No fast passes here, unfortunately. But that wait turned out to be a blessing in disguise because the maitre d' swooped down the line and offered us a table in one of the specialty restaurants at a lovely 50% discount. Jamie's Italian? Don't mind if we do, but more about that later. Now, we did make it our mission to try all 4 dining rooms and most were fantastic, delivering that quintessential cruise ship dining experience. All except one, American Icon Grill, aka Split Personality Central. Most of this restaurant is beautifully decorated, but we were seated in what might call the naughty corner. Picture this, a sad little corner with a grimy grey wall, random American garage style memorabilia on the wall. It felt like we'd been transported to a grimy motorway service station cafe. We didn't even realise how lovely the rest of the restaurant was until we got up to leave. So lesson learned, if you're heading in there and they lead you left, politely ask to turn right. In stark contrast, our experiences in the Grand, Chic and Silk were wonderful. The food was great, the atmosphere was spot on, and honestly even the rest of American Icon Grill looked amazing. So if you do end up there, please take that advice and turn right. Now, we've been low-key converting to buffet fans lately because cruise lines are really stepping up their game, and Ovation didn't disappoint. This buffet is modern, it's spacious and thoughtfully laid out, and there's a ton of options for every palate. Finding a seat was never a problem, and they even had a really solid gluten-free section for all those with intolerances. In fact, the crew all over the ship were really attentive to anybody with dietary needs, and that's always really nice to see that level of care and attention. For coffee lovers, you've got your standard free coffee, but if you're craving your Starbucks fix, you can also grab one in here for a fee, of course. And there's a bar in Windjammer, because why not pair your buffet with a cheeky cocktail? One pro tip here, don't forget that outdoor seating area at the back of Windjammer. It's easily one of the best spots to enjoy a meal on the ship, or even just to relax outside of mealtime. We couldn't resist trying out room service on Ovation of the Seas, specifically a leisurely breakfast in bed. The best part? What we ordered was included in our fare, so why not? Sure, the presentation wasn't exactly 5-star, think practical over Pinterest worthy, but honestly who cares when you're lying in your cosy PJs, sipping coffee and munching on pastries with the sound of the sea right there. It is the perfect way to ease into a busy day on board, and sometimes it's just those little indulgences that make cruising feel extra special. Tucked right in the heart of the ship, Cafe Promenade is a little 24 hours a day, 7 days a week gem. So whether you're searching for an early morning caffeine hit, an afternoon snack or a late night treat, it's got you covered. As well as coffee, it offers sandwiches, cookies and a range of great snacks and cakes, and all included in your fare. But if you fancy something a little more special, head right across the Esplanade to the patisserie for great barista coffee and the most amazing cakes. And check out this baby that we found inside the patisserie. Leave us a comment if you know any other hidden chargers around the ship. Okay, let's talk about Sorrento's, a true legend of late night munchies and afternoon treats. What can I say? Sorrento's pizzas are always hot, they're always fresh, they're always free, and it's always busy in there. And let's be real, there's something magical about a slice of pizza after a night of dancing or watching a show. It's like the ultimate comfort food, and somehow it just hits differently on a cruise. As its name suggests, Cafe 270 is located right next door to the 270 venue. It's a little bit like a mini buffet, So whether you're in the mood for a light snack or something just to hold you over until dinner, Cafe 270 has you covered. It's a really decent alternative if you don't want a full service restaurant or you can't be bothered going up to Windjammer. We're really not hot dog fans, but we know for a fact that cruisers love this place. You'll find it tucked into a corner of the Seaplex, and these are all included. No cruise is complete without poolside treats, and Ovation has this covered with fish and chips. It's open daily 12 till 5, but there is a charge in here. As you've seen, there's plenty of free food on Ovation, but if you want to try something a little more special, there are definitely a few good options. Starting with Izumi, which is a Japanese themed restaurant. It's in a really odd location for a specialty restaurant, right in the heart of a really busy thoroughfare. And we spoke to a couple of diners who actually found it quite distracting having people walking by the whole time, but saying that they loved their meals.
We hadn't planned on visiting Jimmy's Italian, but as we mentioned earlier, we were persuaded with a good deal. Hey, we're Scottish after all. I'll let Jill tell you about it.
This is not where we expected to be tonight. We actually were going to eat dinner in the main dining room this evening, but when we got there, the queues were crazy long. The most beautiful maitre d' called Mark came along and asked us if we would be willing to eat elsewhere because they had some availability, and if we would, then we could have a 50% discount. So we are Scottish, and this lovely man has given us some water.
And as well as good service, the food was fantastic. From the arancini balls to the tiramisu.
From the moment you enter Wonderland, you'll know you're in for something special. This restaurant is relatively small with a whimsical decor and a menu designed to bend your mind and your taste buds. It's a lot of fun, but we're not going to give too much away so that you can enjoy it for yourself. Our hint though is don't take yourself too seriously and you will have a blast in here. Chops Grill is Royal Caribbean's hallmark steak restaurant. If you're a steak lover, you absolutely cannot miss this. And don't forget, it's also got a decent kids menu as well as gluten-free and lactose-free options. We've got this booked for our next Ovation cruise, so stay tuned for that. The shops are all found within the Royal Esplanade. This entire area is reminiscent of a hotel lobby, and the double height ceiling makes it feel really spacious and bright. There's a great selection of shops, including some designer labels. Now, our cruise wasn't leaving Australian waters, so the duty-free sundries shop was closed, but they did quite often set up a table outside selling snacks and essentials such as sunscreen and toothpaste. Royal Caribbean really know how to look after families, so as you'd expect, their kids clubs are very popular. Kids from 6 months right up to teens all have custom activity programs and dedicated spaces. The Seaplex is an arena where you'll find an array of fun activities such as basketball, pickleball, rollerblading, family game challenges, dodgem cars and more. The size of the Seaplex really surprised us in the nicest possible way. It's massive. Royal Caribbean really haven't stinged at all in here. We know a lot more modern ships are doing this kind of thing now and more, but this is one of the original ships to have this kind of activity space and we absolutely love it. All Royal Caribbean ships have a rock climbing wall, and on Ovation it's at the back near Flowrider. We didn't try Flowrider ourselves, but watching others was pure entertainment gold. It's hilarious to see how different people tackle it. Some nail it like pros, while others wipe out in the most spectacular ways. The cheers and the laughs from the crowd made it even more fun to watch. If the thought of a real skydive makes your knees wobble like mine, this is your chance to experience the thrill, but without the fear. And how cool is it that you can say you've skydived on a cruise ship? Mike gave this a go and he absolutely loved it. The North Star is free while you're in port, but those are just quick trips. At sea, you can book a full session through the app for a small fee, and trust us, it's worth every penny for those jaw-dropping views. I'll admit I was quite nervous about this one because I'm not great with heights, and it does go really high, but I was surprised at how safe and secure I felt the whole time. Pro tip on this one though, if you want to try North Star or any of these paid activities, book them as soon as you board because they sell out pretty quickly. Ovation has 3 pool areas, so you're spoiled for choice when it comes to finding the perfect spot. With 2 of them undercover, it doesn't matter whether you're cruising the tropics or the cooler climes of Alaska, you're always going to have the perfect place to lounge, read a book or sip a cocktail in between dips in the pool. And while there's no water slide for adults, there's this adorable little water park for the kids, conveniently located right next to the main pool. The tiny lazy river looked so much fun. We were seriously tempted to suggest a nighttime cocktail river float event. How great would that be? The main pool deck is the heart of the action, constantly alive with music, games and live activities. It's the place to be if you're looking for good vibes and a lively atmosphere while you work on your TAM. This is the third of the impressive 3 pool areas on board, the Solarium, which is for guests aged over 16. Sailing in Australian waters mid-spring, we were lucky enough to have some really warm days, and the great thing about the Solarium is that it offers that perfect balance of being able to enjoy the sunshine but being shielded from that harsh UV while still staying cool with a little touch of air conditioning. So even on a hot day, relaxing in this undercover area felt totally comfortable and not at all out of place. It's the ultimate spot to unwind no matter the weather, but be warned, it gets really busy in here. We rocked up at 8:30 AM one day and almost all the beds were already in use. I had grand plans of spending some time in the thermal suite on Ovation, but honestly, it was a little bit of a letdown. It's quite small and it doesn't have a pool, so it just didn't feel worth the extra cost, especially when the Solarium is so gorgeous and completely free. That said, the spa is well equipped, there's a great range of treatment rooms and full range of services. My only gripe though, the hard sell. Is it just me, or does the constant upselling totally ruin the vibe? If they'd just ease up a little, I'd probably book more often. Have you got any tips for handling spa staff without feeling awkward? If you have, please let me know in the comments because I could use the help. The fitness centre was so popular, it was actually tough to find a quiet moment to film in here. It's a huge space with all the equipment you need to stay active, or at least to keep your clothes fitting comfortably by the end of the cruise. Let's get real though, it's just there to balance out the dessert bar, right? The Royal Caribbean app works really well to help you plan your holiday to perfection whilst you're on board. You can use it to book events, activities, dining and chat with your fellow cruisers and so much more. We also found the Wi-Fi fantastic. We had several video chats with our kids while we were on board and it handled them perfectly. The ship's really easy to navigate with screens and models all around to help you make your way, and we love these little plaques in the elevator floors to remind us which day it is, because that's a real problem on holiday. This embarkation was a dream for us because we had the key package, which we'll explain more in a separate video, but it basically meant that we could simply walk off the ship at our leisure rather than waiting for our group to be called. We loved our time on Ovation and she would be right up there in our top 3 favourite ships. She's huge but designed impeccably and as a result feels much more intimate than we expected, and we'd go back again in a heartbeat. In fact, we're already booked. Have you cruised on Ovation? Tell us what you loved. Did we miss anything that we can add to our must-do list for that next cruise? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new content as it appears.